So this was me, 8 weeks before my marathon race. I was fat, stuck in a rut, vaping and eating junk food every single day for almost 10 months. But this time last year, I signed up to do a marathon. But when I signed up, I was in decent shape. I was training every day, and I thought I would keep on training and keep the momentum going. But life had other plans. I started a job where the days were very long, leaving the house at 6 in the morning and getting home for 8 p.m., sometimes even later. And with a young family at home as well, I just couldn't find the time to train. And with the stress from work and life, I slipped into a vicious cycle, eating crap, vaping constantly, and doing absolutely no physical activity. But I left my job at the end of January, and I knew the marathon was coming up, but I still couldn't get out that rut. All through February, I kept vaping and eating crap all day, every day. I had the time, but not the mindset. Then one day, something just clicked, and I snapped out of that toxic trance. And on the 3rd of March, I stopped vaping and went for my first run in 10 months. That first run was hard, really hard. I only managed 2.5 miles, and my legs felt like they was about to explode. My calves were burning, my legs were on fire, and I felt so unfit. And in that moment, one question hit me. Can I really run a marathon in just 8 weeks, with almost no training behind me? I had actually run a marathon before, back in 2022. Back then, I was in shape, I was training, but if I'm honest, I still didn't train like a proper marathon runner should. My time wasn't amazing, but I finished it, and that alone was a win. So this time around, I knew what to expect, but knowing what's coming doesn't make it any less daunting, especially when you're starting from rock bottom. The first 2 weeks were a real struggle. I was running nearly every other day, slow pace, short distances, just a few miles at most. Every run felt like a battle. My body wasn't used to movements, and my fitness was nowhere near where it needed to be. But I kept showing up. That was a win. But as I kept running, stacking up the miles, something started to change. I began feeling better in myself, stronger, sharper. Physically, I could feel my body coming back to life. Most of my runs were zone 2, slow, steady, and to be honest, a bit boring. But it was exactly what I needed to rebuild my endurance. I was also playing football once a week, and that helped me big time. It gave me some speed work, fast paced movement, and another push for my fitness. Getting back into training felt amazing. I was moving more, breathing better, and slowly I started to feel like me again. That physical progress started to shift everything. I naturally began eating better, sleeping better, and mentally, I was in a much better place. It was a big contrast from week 1, when I genuinely doubted whether I'd even finish this race. Now I was starting to believe I could actually do this. With just over 2 weeks ago, I went for my first long run of training, 15.3 miles, and I held a 10-minute 30 pace, and I was happy with that. Up to this point, most of my runs were slow zone 2 efforts, 12 to 15-minute miles, so this felt like a proper breakthrough. And to push myself even further, I did it fasted, no food beforehand, and no hydration during the run. Now listen, I don't recommend doing that if you're training for a marathon. You should always have fluids on you, and ideally something with electrolytes so you don't cramp up or hit the wall. But I needed to test myself physically, but more importantly mentally, because with how limited my training has been, I had to know where I stood and what I could take. The last 2 weeks of training were mostly zone 2 runs, just keeping the engine ticking over. I flew in a couple threshold sessions and played a few games of football to keep the legs sharp. At this point, I wasn't trying to build fitness, I was sharpening the blade, and I was ready, feeling primed. Ready to go, ready to smash this marathon. Now it was time, race day. The atmosphere was electric and the sun was beaming. A beautiful day to run 26 miles. I was buzzing with nerves, energy and excitement. I was ready to stomp some tarmac. The first 10 miles I felt solid. I was moving well, body felt good, and my mind was locked in. I wanted to run for our 30 marathon. Maybe a bit optimistic, but I wanted to aim high. My plan was start steady, run at 11:30 a mile, then gradually pick up the pace as the race went on. But looking back, maybe I went out a bit too gung-ho. I was running faster than planned, letting the adrenaline take over. Still, I felt good, in control at least for now. But then at mile 18, my first real hurdle, out of nowhere, a stitch hit me hard. I had to slow down and work her off. But soon as I stopped, I felt my legs tightening up, getting heavy. That pause cost me, but the stitch eased and I got back to it. I found my rhythm again, but things were changing. My pace had slowed. The course started throwing in some brutal inclines. That was killing me, physically and mentally. I was being tested. I was still doing well though. I got through to mile 20, 21, 22, then finally 23. I looked at my watch and I was on for a 4 hour 45 time, and I was happy with that. But then I hit the wall. My legs were screaming, my mind was breaking, and I remembered something David Goggins said, that in a marathon you go through years worth of emotions in a single race. At mile 23, I understood what he meant. I've been here before. I'd done the London Marathon, the fan dance, and a few high rockers, but this felt different. The pain, the doubt, the weight in my legs and in my mind, it all came crashing down, and I said to myself, I can't carry on. So I sat down, FaceTimed my missus, and told her I can't carry on, and she told me just walk the last 5k, but even that felt like an impossible task, but I got up and did just that. I walked, I hobbled, every step was a war. My emotions were like a roller coaster. One moment I was moving, the next feeling sorry for myself. The last 5k was honestly a blur. All I remember is pain, every muscle on fire, every step felt like it might be my last. But the mind is a mad thing. Master it, and you become unstoppable. Let it master you, and even the smallest goals will slip away. I realised that as I turned the final corner and saw the finish line. 500 metres to go, and suddenly the pain didn't matter no more. I couldn't really feel it. I just ploughed on, step after step, until I crossed the finish line. 5 hours 44 minutes. Not the best time. Nowhere near the time I wanted. But just finishing felt like a victory, because at one point I truly thought I wouldn't. This race wasn't a perfect race. It wasn't a fast time, but it was real. It was a battle, and I didn't quit. And that's what Stop Slacking is all about. It's not about being the best. It's about being better than the version of you that would have stopped. And you don't need perfect conditions. You just need to show up. Whatever your race is, run it, walk it, crawl it. If you have to, just don't stop.